Most people picture Secret Service agents in dark suits protecting the president, but this elite agency's history is filled with bizarre twists, from borrowing a gangster's bulletproof car to carrying presidential blood supplies and housing the world's largest ink library. Founded on the very day Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, the Secret Service has evolved from chasing counterfeiters to safeguarding leaders with methods that sound stranger than fiction. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about the Secret Service. Fact 1. Lincoln signed it into law on his assassination day. The Secret Service came into existence on one of the darkest days in American history. On April 14, 1865, President Abraham Lincoln approved legislation establishing the United States Secret Service, creating what would become one of the most elite law enforcement agencies in the world. What makes this moment even more tragic is that it was Lincoln's final official act as president. That same evening, just hours after signing the legislation, Lincoln attended a performance of Quote Zero at Ford's Theater in Washington, where actor John Wilkes Booth assassinated him. The timing of these two events has led to one of history's most bitter ironies. Lincoln signed into law an agency that might have saved his life, but it came too late to protect him. The legislation sat on Lincoln's desk throughout the day, and he signed it that afternoon before heading to the theater. Had the Secret Service been operational even a few months earlier, trained agents would have been stationed at Ford's Theater, controlling access points and screening visitors. Instead, Lincoln's sole bodyguard that night was John Frederick Parker, a Washington police officer with a questionable record who abandoned his post at intermission to go drinking at a nearby tavern. When Booth entered the presidential box, no one was there to stop him. The Secret Service wouldn't actually begin presidential protection duties for another 36 years. But its creation on that fateful day remains one of the most haunting coincidences in American history, forever linking Lincoln's death with the birth of the agency that would eventually prevent countless other such tragedies. Fact 2. Originally created to fight. Fake money, not protect presidents. When most people think of the Secret Service today, they picture agents in dark suits and sunglasses surrounding the president. But protecting the commander-in-chief wasn't even part of their original job description. The Secret Service was actually established on July 5, 1865, with one specific mission: to combat the epidemic of counterfeit currency that was crippling the American economy. During and immediately after the Civil War, the United States faced a counterfeiting crisis of almost unimaginable proportions. Experts estimated that between 1/3 and 1/2 of all currency in circulation throughout the country was fake. This wasn't just an economic inconvenience, it threatened to destroy public confidence in the entire monetary system. With thousands of different banks, each printing their own unique notes, and no standardized national currency until 1863, counterfeiters had a field day creating fraudulent bills that were nearly impossible for ordinary citizens to detect. The federal government needed a specialized force to track down these counterfeiters and restore integrity to American currency. The Secret Service was that force, and they proved remarkably effective at their job, dramatically reducing counterfeiting rates within their first decade of operation. It wasn't until 1894 that Congress informally requested Secret Service agents help protect President Grover Cleveland, and not until 1901, following the assassination of President William McKinley, that presidential protection became an official Secret Service responsibility. Even today, while presidential protection is their most visible duty, the Secret Service still maintains its original mission of investigating financial crimes, including counterfeiting, forgery, and various forms of financial fraud. Fact 3. FDR borrowed Al Capone's armored car after Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, when Japanese forces attacked Pearl Harbor and thrust America into World War II, the Secret Service suddenly faced an urgent problem. They didn't have a single armored vehicle suitable for transporting President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in wartime conditions. The nation was now at war, and the president needed protection from potential assassination attempts, but building an armored limousine from scratch would take months the Secret Service didn't have. In a twist that sounds too strange to be true, agents found their solution sitting in a government impound lot in Chicago, a heavily modified 1928 Cadillac Town sedan that had been seized from notorious gangster Al Capone. Capone had spared no expense customizing this vehicle for his criminal empire, equipping it with bulletproof glass, armor plating, and even a police siren and flashing lights to help him evade law enforcement. The irony was perfect. A car built to protect one of America's most wanted criminals would now safeguard America's president. The Secret Service quickly transported the vehicle to Washington and put it into immediate service. When Roosevelt discovered the unusual origins of his new protective vehicle, he reportedly laughed and quipped, "I hope Mr. Capone won't mind." The president rode in Capone's former limousine until the Secret Service could commission purpose-built armored vehicles. This bizarre chapter in presidential security demonstrates both the resourcefulness of the Secret Service and the desperate circumstances following Pearl Harbor. The gangster's bulletproof Cadillac served its new purpose admirably, carrying Roosevelt safely through some of the most dangerous days of his presidency until more appropriate transportation could be arranged. Fact 4. They carry the president's blood type. Everywhere. The Secret Service's preparation for worst-case scenarios extends to a detail that most people never consider: blood supply. Whenever the president travels anywhere, whether it's across town or across the world, Secret Service agents carry a supply of blood matching the president's specific blood type. This isn't just a precaution, it's a critical component of what the Secret Service calls the 10-minute medicine protocol. If the president is shot or severely injured, agents must be able to stabilize him or her within 10 minutes, the critical window before permanent damage or death becomes likely. Having the correct blood type immediately available can mean the difference between life and death in a trauma situation. The Secret Service learned these hard lessons from past assassination attempts, particularly the shooting of President Ronald Reagan in 1981, when Reagan came far closer to dying than the public realized at the time. He lost nearly half his blood volume before surgeons could stabilize him. Beyond carrying blood supplies, Secret Service agents receive extensive emergency medical training that goes well beyond basic first aid. They're trained to perform emergency procedures, manage severe trauma, and maintain the president's vital functions until they can reach a hospital trauma center. Every motorcade includes a fully equipped ambulance with advanced life support capabilities, and the Secret Service coordinates in advance with trauma centers along any presidential travel route. During international trips, agents must identify suitable medical facilities in advance, and sometimes even arrange for compatible blood supplies to be positioned at multiple locations along the president's travel path. This level of medical readiness reflects the Secret Service's fundamental philosophy: hope for the best, but prepare for the absolute worst. Fact 5. The Secret Service founded the FBI. The Federal Bureau of Investigation owes its existence to the United States Secret Service, though this historical connection has been largely forgotten over the years. In 1908, the Department of Justice faced a significant problem. It had no permanent investigative force of its own to handle federal crimes. Whenever the department needed investigations conducted, it had to borrow agents from other agencies, primarily the Secret Service. Attorney General Charles Bonaparte, grandnephew of the famous French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, grew frustrated with this arrangement and decided the Justice Department needed its own dedicated investigators. Congress, however, had specifically prohibited the Justice Department from creating such a force, fearing it would become too powerful. Bonaparte found a workaround. On July 26, 1908, during a congressional recess when lawmakers couldn't stop him, Bonaparte hired 9 Secret Service agents to form a permanent investigative unit within the Justice Department. This small group of former Secret Service agents became the nucleus of what would eventually grow into the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Secret Service wasn't particularly happy about losing some of its best agents, but the transfer proved beneficial for both agencies in the long run. The new investigative force was initially called the Bureau of Investigation, and it wasn't officially renamed the Federal Bureau of Investigation until 1935 under Director J. Edgar Hoover. Those original 9 Secret Service agents brought their expertise in criminal investigation, surveillance techniques, and federal law enforcement to their new roles, establishing the professional standards and investigative methodologies that would define the FBI. Today, while the FBI has grown into an agency of over 35,000 employees, dwarfing its parent organization, its roots trace directly back to those Secret Service agents who made the jump in 1908. Fact 6. Houses the world's largest ink library. Hidden within the Secret Service's forensic laboratories sits one of the most unusual collections in the world, more than 15,000 samples of writing inks dating back to the 1920s, representing the largest repository of ink samples anywhere on the planet. This isn't just an eccentric hobby or historical curiosity. It's a powerful forensic tool that helps the Secret Service detect counterfeits, expose forgeries, and solve financial crimes. The International Ink Library, as it's officially known, contains samples from virtually every ink manufacturer that has operated over the past century, with each sample carefully cataloged with detailed information about its chemical composition, manufacturing date, and specific characteristics. When the Secret Service encounters a suspicious document, whether it's potentially counterfeit currency, a forged check, or an altered contract, forensic experts can analyze the ink and compare it against their vast library to determine exactly when and where that ink was manufactured. This capability has proven invaluable in countless investigations. If someone tries to backdate a document by claiming it was signed years ago, ink analysis can expose the fraud by revealing the ink didn't even exist at the alleged signing date. The library grows constantly as the Secret Service obtains samples from new ink formulations and manufacturers around the world. Ink manufacturers routinely provide samples to the Secret Service, understanding that this cooperation helps protect against fraud and counterfeiting. The collection includes not just pen inks, but also printing inks, toner cartridges, and other marking substances used in documents and currency. Maintaining this library requires meticulous organization and sophisticated chemical analysis equipment. But the investment pays dividends every time Secret Service forensic experts identify a forgery or counterfeit that might otherwise have gone undetected. Fact 7. No spy has ever infiltrated their ranks. The Secret Service holds a distinction that sets it apart from virtually every other major American intelligence and law enforcement agency. In its more than 150 years of operation, no foreign spy or traitor has ever been discovered within its ranks. This perfect record is remarkable when you consider the espionage scandals that have rocked other agencies. The FBI suffered the betrayal of Robert Hanssen, who sold secrets to the Soviets and Russians for 22 years. The CIA was penetrated by Aldrich Ames, whose treachery led to the execution of numerous American intelligence sources. The National Security Agency had its secrets stolen by Edward Snowden. Even the military has seen spies like John Walker compromise national security. Yet the Secret Service has remained clean. This isn't merely luck, it's the result of extraordinarily rigorous vetting procedures, a strong institutional culture of loyalty, and perhaps most importantly, the nature of the Secret Service's mission itself. Unlike intelligence agencies where agents might rationalize betrayal as serving some higher ideological purpose, Secret Service agents are focused on a clear apolitical mission, protecting individuals and investigating financial crimes. There's no moral ambiguity that foreign intelligence services might exploit. The Secret Service's background investigation process is among the most thorough in the federal government, often taking more than a year to complete. Investigators examine every aspect of a candidate's life, including financial records, personal relationships, travel history, and even social media activity. Applicants undergo multiple polygraph examinations and extensive interviews with family members, friends, neighbors, and former colleagues. Once hired, agents face continuous monitoring and periodic reinvestigations throughout their careers. This combination of careful selection, strong organizational culture, and constant vigilance has kept the Secret Service's remarkable record intact. Fact 8, quote, 3 weighs as much as 3 elephants. The presidential limousine, nicknamed Quote 4 by Secret Service agents, is less of a car and more of a tank disguised as a luxury Cadillac. This rolling fortress weighs approximately 20,000 pounds, roughly equivalent to 3 adult African elephants or 10 Honda Civics stacked together. The reason for this extraordinary weight becomes clear when you examine its construction. The beast features armor plating that's 8 inches thick in critical areas, capable of withstanding armor-piercing rounds, grenades, and even certain types of rocket-propelled grenades. The windows are 3 inches of layered bulletproof glass, thick enough to stop any handheld weapon. The doors alone weigh as much as those on a Boeing 757 aircraft, and they seal hermetically to create a completely airtight cabin in case of chemical or biological attack. The undercarriage is reinforced to protect against roadside bombs and includes a reinforced fuel tank surrounded by special foam that prevents it from exploding even if hit directly. The tires are Kevlar reinforced and can continue running even after being shredded by gunfire. Despite all this protection, the beast faces significant practical limitations. Its top speed is only about 60 miles per hour, slower than virtually any modern economy car, and it achieves a dismal 8 miles per gallon of fuel economy. The vehicle carries its own oxygen supply, firefighting equipment, and stores of the president's blood type. It also contains advanced communications equipment, allowing the president to maintain contact with military and civilian leadership even during a nuclear attack. Only a handful of these vehicles exist, and their exact specifications remain classified. When one reaches the end of its service life, the Secret Service destroys it completely to ensure none of its defensive secrets are ever compromised. Fact 9. Only one agent has ever died. Protecting a president. In the Secret Service's long history of presidential protection, which began in earnest in the early 20th century, only one agent has ever been killed in the line of duty while actively defending a president. That agent was Private Leslie Koffelt, and his sacrifice came during one of the most dramatic assassination attempts in American history. On November 1, 1950, President Harry Truman was staying at Blair House across the street from the White House, which was undergoing extensive renovations. That afternoon, 2 Puerto Rican nationalists, Griselio Torresola and Oscar Collazo, attempted to force their way into Blair House to assassinate the president. What followed was a brief but intense gunfight right on Pennsylvania Avenue. Private Koffelt was stationed in a guard booth outside Blair House when the attack began. Torresola approached from behind and shot Koffelt 3 times at close range, mortally wounding him. Despite his fatal injuries, Koffelt managed to prop himself up, draw his weapon, take careful aim, and fire a single shot that struck Torresola in the head, killing him instantly and ending the assassination attempt. Koffelt then collapsed and died a few hours later in the hospital. His final shot likely saved President Truman's life. The assassination attempt also wounded 2 other Secret Service officers and a White House police officer, but they all survived. Koffelt's heroism earned him widespread recognition, and a plaque at Blair House commemorates his sacrifice. What makes Koffelt's story even more remarkable is that it remains unique in Secret Service history. No other agent has been killed protecting a president in the 75 years since. This speaks both to Koffelt's extraordinary courage and to the evolution of presidential security protocols that have successfully prevented similar close-range attacks. Fact 10. Presidential limos are destroyed after retirement. When a presidential limousine reaches the end of its service life, it doesn't end up in a museum or at a government auction like most retired government vehicles. Instead, the Secret Service destroys it completely and deliberately. This destruction isn't just crushing the vehicle or sending it to a scrapyard. It's a methodical process of eliminating every trace of the advanced security technology built into these extraordinary machines. The Secret Service uses bullets, explosives, and industrial equipment to obliterate retired presidential vehicles, ensuring that no foreign intelligence service, terrorist organization, or even curious enthusiast can ever examine their classified defensive capabilities. The specific armor composition, the placement and thickness of protective materials, the sophisticated communications equipment, the defensive countermeasures, and dozens of other security features must remain absolutely secret. If any potential adversary could study a retired presidential limousine, they might discover vulnerabilities that could be exploited in an attack on a current president. This policy extends beyond just the beast itself to include all vehicles in the presidential motorcade that contain classified security features. Some support vehicles without sensitive technology might be retired normally, but anything carrying presidential-level protection gets destroyed. The Secret Service has demonstrated this destruction process on a few occasions to show the effectiveness of their armor. Test footage has shown how the vehicles can withstand extraordinary amounts of punishment before finally being rendered into unrecognizable scrap metal. This policy means that, unlike previous generations, when presidential vehicles sometimes ended up in museums like the Henry Ford Museum or the Franklin D. Roosevelt Library, modern presidential limousines will never be available for public display. Their secrets will remain classified decades after they stop carrying presidents, ensuring that America's defensive technologies stay ahead of potential threats. Fact 11. Agents must adopt the president's hobbies. Secret Service agents protecting the president face an unusual job requirement that doesn't appear in any official manual. They must be able to participate in whatever leisure activities the president enjoys. This isn't about building rapport or making small talk. It's a practical necessity of providing constant close protection. If the president goes jogging, agents must be able to jog alongside him for however long the run lasts. If the president enjoys horseback riding, agents need to be comfortable in the saddle. If the president plays golf, agents must be prepared to walk 18 holes while remaining alert for threats. This requirement has challenged agents in different ways depending on each president's preferences. When George W. Bush took up mountain biking and would ride for hours on challenging trails, Secret Service agents had to become proficient enough on bikes to keep up with him on rough terrain, while simultaneously maintaining security awareness. When Barack Obama played basketball, agents needed sufficient skills to participate in pickup games without being a liability to the team. The challenge intensifies because agents must perform these activities while carrying weapons, communications equipment, and sometimes wearing body armor, all while staying alert for potential threats. They can't focus entirely on the activity itself the way the president can. They're constantly scanning the environment, monitoring communications, and positioning themselves to respond to any danger. This means agents often need to be in better physical condition than the president they're protecting, since they're doing the same activity while bearing extra equipment and mental burden. The Secret Service factors these requirements into agent selection and training, but agents also must train individually to match their protectees' specific interests. This sometimes creates awkward situations when a new president's hobbies differ dramatically from the previous one, forcing agents to rapidly develop entirely new skill sets. Fact 12. They keep an elevator repairman on hotel standby. The Secret Service's advanced planning for presidential hotel stays extends to details most people would never consider, including one particularly unusual precaution. They keep an elevator repair technician on standby throughout the president's entire visit. This might seem like excessive caution, but the Secret Service operates on the principle that if something can go wrong, they must have an immediate solution ready. The last thing they want is for the president to be trapped in an elevator, even briefly, as it creates an uncontrolled security situation. An elevator malfunction might seem like a minor inconvenience, but for the Secret Service, it represents a potential vulnerability. If the president gets stuck between floors, it complicates their security posture and could interfere with rapid evacuation if an emergency arises elsewhere in the building. Having a qualified technician immediately available, already familiar with that specific building's elevator systems, ensures any mechanical problem can be resolved in minutes rather than hours. This is just one example of the hundreds of contingencies the Secret Service plans for during presidential travel. Before the president arrives at any hotel, Secret Service advance teams spend days or even weeks examining every detail of the building and surrounding area. They inspect elevators, stairwells, ventilation systems, kitchen facilities, and entry points. They coordinate with local law enforcement, establish secure communication networks, and identify evacuation routes. They even inspect the president's hotel room with explosives detection dogs and conduct background checks on hotel staff who might have access to presidential areas. The elevator repairman on standby represents the Secret Service's philosophy of leaving nothing to chance, no matter how unlikely the scenario. Every potential problem, no matter how minor it might seem, gets a prepared solution before the president arrives. Fact 13. Dogs retire to live with their handlers. Secret Service canine units share an unusually close bond compared to most working dog programs, and this bond continues even after the dogs retire from active duty. Unlike military or police departments where retired working dogs might be adopted by civilians or placed in specialized programs, Secret Service dogs almost always retire to live permanently with their handlers. This arrangement reflects the unique nature of the Secret Service canine program. These dogs don't live in kennels. They live full-time at their handlers' homes from the day they begin training together. They're with their handlers constantly, both on duty and off, creating a relationship that goes far beyond a typical work partnership. The handler and dog train together, work together, and live together every day for years. When the dog reaches retirement age, typically around 9 or 10 years old, separating them from their handler would be emotionally traumatic for both. The Secret Service recognizes this bond and actively encourages handlers to keep their retired partners. This policy creates an interesting challenge for handlers who must plan their careers and personal lives around their canine partners. A handler can't easily transfer to a new position or relocate if it means leaving their retired dog behind. Many handlers structure their entire Secret Service careers around staying with their dogs through retirement. Some handlers have cared for multiple retired dogs simultaneously as they progress through their careers. The Secret Service covers certain veterinary expenses for retired canines, acknowledging that these dogs gave their working lives in service to the agency. The arrangement benefits everyone involved. The dogs enjoy a peaceful retirement with someone they know and trust. Handlers maintain their bond with loyal partners, and the Secret Service retains experienced handlers who might otherwise leave if forced to give up their dogs. Fact 14. Barack Obama received the earliest candidate protection. Ever presidential candidates don't automatically receive Secret Service protection. It's granted based on threat assessments and specific circumstances. Throughout American history, the timing of when candidates receive protection has varied, but one candidate holds the record for the earliest protection ever authorized. In May of 2007, the Secret Service began protecting Senator Barack Obama, a full 18 months before the 2008 presidential election. This unprecedented early protection reflected the unique circumstances surrounding Obama's candidacy. As the first African-American candidate with a realistic chance of winning the presidency, Obama faced a significantly elevated threat level compared to typical candidates. The Secret Service and Department of Homeland Security received numerous threat reports, and the historical context of racial violence in America made the risks impossible to ignore. The decision to provide protection so early in the campaign cycle was extraordinary. At the time protection began, Obama wasn't even the Democratic nominee yet. He was still competing in primary elections against Hillary Clinton and other candidates. Typically, major party candidates don't receive Secret Service protection until much later in the election cycle, often not until after their party's nomination is secured, which usually happens in summer of the election year. Obama received protection nearly a year before the Democratic convention. This early protection came with significant logistical challenges and costs. Secret Service details had to follow Obama to hundreds of campaign events across the country during the primaries, coordinate with local law enforcement in dozens of cities, and maintain security at a time when presidential campaigns are most fluid and unpredictable. The protection continued through his successful campaign and then his 8 years as president, representing one of the longest continuous protective assignments in Secret Service history. Fact 15. They screen nearly every White House visitor with dogs. Most people who visit the White House have no idea they've been screened by a Secret Service dog, but canine detection is a standard part of security procedures for almost everyone who enters the complex. The Secret Service maintains one of the most sophisticated canine programs in law enforcement, with dogs trained to detect explosives, firearms, and other potential threats. These highly trained animals work constantly throughout the White House grounds, screening visitors, packages, vehicles, and any items being brought into the presidential complex. The statistics on Secret Service canine operations are staggering. The average explosives detection dog in the program searches approximately 7,020 vehicles per year. That breaks down to roughly 19 vehicles per day, every single day. These aren't casual sniff inspections, they're thorough examinations where dogs check the exterior, interior, undercarriage, and trunk of each vehicle, entering secure areas. The dogs work in all weather conditions, during the day and at night, maintaining vigilance regardless of circumstances. Beyond vehicles, Secret Service dogs screen packages, luggage, and deliveries destined for the White House. They patrol the grounds regularly, checking for anything unusual. During special events with large numbers of guests, multiple dog teams work simultaneously, screening attendees as they arrive. The Secret Service deliberately keeps these operations low profile. Visitors often never see the dogs working because handlers position them strategically to screen people without causing alarm or disrupting the experience. The dogs are trained to detect minute traces of explosive compounds that even sophisticated electronic equipment might miss. Their natural abilities, combined with intensive training, make them irreplaceable components of White House security, despite advances in technology and screening equipment.